This is not the video I expected to be making in the middle of November of 2023, but this is a very welcomed change. Today we're talking about the top point scorer in the entire NHL, Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks, a guy who has been heralded for his skill, somebody who honestly has not been playing his best this season, but who still leads the entire National Hockey League in production. EP40 has been an absolute stud this year. But the entire conversation around Pettersson heading into 23-24 wasn't about his skill at all. It wasn't about his production, it wasn't about where he'd finish in the points race. It instead was about money. Because Elias Pettersson is on the last year of his $7.35 million extension, that in which he signed back in 2021, and takes him until the end of 2024. He is expiring as an RFA, and we already saw all the rumors, all the updates, all of the Swedish boat interviews with Elliot Friedman, wherein the conclusion we got was essentially Elias Pettersson, more than anything, wants to play for a winner. And long term, he needs to be sure, he needs to be sold on the future of the Vancouver Canucks that they can be a winner. So, this season would need to play itself out, Pettersson would not want to re-sign sometime during it, and he needs to make sure that by the end of it all, there is enough confidence within the Vancouver Canucks to say, okay, this team's probably going to be a winner, and I'm going to want to stick around because of it. Not that I don't like the city, not that I don't like the fans, not that I don't like the team. It's just we have to make sure that my future is in the bag. Not strictly financially speaking, but also with the perspective in mind that PD just wants to play in a good team. So, we had this idea starting out the season that EP40 wouldn't really sign his extension right away, how we may have to wait until the end of the season to get things really going. And that's okay, because Pettersson's expiring as an RFA. Even if worst case scenario comes and he does not want to re-sign, they could always trade him away, he'll have his trade list. It could be like the Matthew Tkachuk situation from Calgary those few years ago. Or just last year, excuse me. But as we have talked about this season, the Vancouver Canucks, they haven't just been good, they have been one of the best teams in the NHL. Elias Pettersson is the top scorer in the NHL. As we had talked about yesterday, Quinn Hughes and JT Miller are each tied for third in the NHL in points right now. Only Artemi Panarin steps in between these three guys in point production. Nikita Kucherov, he's out for a while, but he's there in that tie too. So Vancouver, not only have they been good on paper with the wins and the losses, but the players themselves have all been having career year paces. So, now, with all this information in mind, we have ourselves an idea that popped itself up earlier today when Frank Saravalli published this article on dailyfaceoff.com. GM Patrick Allvin says the Canucks are chipping away at a contract extension for Elias Pettersson. There you go, folks. It's the middle of November, and we have ourselves very positive news on the Pettersson contract front. The article, which will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read this yourself, opens up by saying the vibes are immaculate in Vancouver. They're off to the best start in franchise history, and they're icing a lineup with major trophy threats at all three positions for the Hart, Norris, and Vezina. Getting their franchise center locked up for the long haul might set things over the top. Saravalli writes that the Canucks are trying. GM Patrick Allvin said on Tuesday that he's trying to chip away at a contract extension for Petey, the league's top scorer, with 25 points. I've had conversations with Pettersson's agent Pat Brisson, and I met with his Swedish agent a couple of weeks ago when he was in town, Allvin told Daily Faceoff after Tuesday's GM meetings wrapped. We're continuing to talk there and see where things go. Hopefully we'll get this contract done sooner rather than later. And that is a breath of fresh air, because for the first time in a long time, I feel like contract negotiations, contract extensions, they're finally going more so in the positive way than what we've been used to the past few years. All the negative stuff about guys like Tanev, Toffoli, Markstrom all leaving, how Bo Horvat priced himself out of Vancouver, how when JT Miller re-signed, everybody said it was the wrong move, they should have signed Horvat first, etc., etc., etc. This is maybe the best piece of contract-related Vancouver Canucks news we have had in years. That the guy that is literally the top point scorer in the NHL, who initially wanted to wait until the end of the season to get these contract negotiations settled, is now open to getting this conversation started now. Just a month and a half into the regular season, the team was so good, they defied all expectations. So many of these players are playing well above their pay grade that now it's like, okay, I feel comfortable to sign now, or to have the conversation about signing now. Here's some comments made by the agents. We continue to have conversations, but I prefer to keep things on the low key for now, Brisson said Tuesday via text message. Aside from that most critical piece of business, Patrick Allvin did confirm that he continues to peruse the trade market for an addition on the blue line, preferably a right-shot defenseman. We're always trying to find ways to improve our group and our team. We probably would be looking for a defenseman, yeah. Beyond that, Patrick Allvin praised the work of Rick Tocchet and his coaching staff. Allvin values structure and process and accountability, and he likes what he's seen so far out of Tocchet, a big step forward from last year under Boudreau. We're getting there, Allvin said. I like the work the coaches are doing to stay on players. We're always trying to get better every day. I think the coaches are doing a really good job of implementing the structure and a system in every practice, and it is paying off. He then adds off by talking about how it's a different vibe in Vancouver. I think the players want to be at the rink. They want to be around each other. They want to get better. I think that's something the coaching staff have done a really great job of creating trust in the environment here. And trust indeed, my friends, because if Elias Pettersson is all of a sudden interested in sticking around this early on, you know that he has faith, he has belief, he has trust in the system. He has trust in the way Rick Tocchet has manifested this sort of environment in the locker room. He has trust in the Patrick Allvin, Jim Rutherford duo to create very good situations for these players, surrounding them with like-minded talents that complement their playing styles. And, while may not actually appearing as the best roster on paper, actually performing pretty well. Like, who would have thought that Carson Soucy and Ian Cole would have been this effective? Not that individually they're the most amazing players in the world, for crying out loud, but just with their roles in this system, it's making tremendous impacts in a positive way for the Vancouver Canucks and their situation. Now, of course, we know that some of the updates regarding guys like Carson Soucy and their health, etc., things are going to be pretty shaky the next few weeks, but of course, injuries are not really within anybody's control, and an injury or two is not really going to determine to Elias Pettersson, oh yeah, that makes the team worse, it's the Vancouver Canucks' fault that Soucy got injured. No, like, there's a lot more rationale behind that. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this very positive Elias Pettersson contract update? That no longer are we appearing to be waiting until the end of the season to get this done. How right now, in November, there are conversations that are starting, and there are very good sentiments regarding that. If it's up to you, what do you think Elias Pettersson gets on the next contract he signs? I'm going to go out there and say it. Not even knock on wood. If he ends up leaving Vancouver, you can blame this video right here. But I'm not going to knock on wood. I'm just going to ask, what do you think Pettersson gets on the next contract he signs in Vancouver? Does he break Connor McDavid's $12.5 million a year? We had seen McKinnon do that, 12.6. We have seen Matthews do that, 13 point whatever. Is Petey in that conversation? In my opinion, if Pettersson gets something in the $11 to $11.5 million range, you could say that's kind of a steal. Like, not gonna lie, franchise center, top point producer, he's on pace for 100-something, let's say 150 points this year. Like, he is so good and so poised, so talented, and he's just getting better. And the crazy part is, as we talked about yesterday, he isn't even in his final form. This season has not been the best for Elias Pettersson in terms of what he's been doing. Like, he could be better than this, honestly. A lot of the plays, a lot of the consistency, a lot of the execution, it hasn't been perfect for Petey this year. And you could tell he's getting frustrated. So, if this isn't even his final form, how many points do you think he gets? What do you think he gets in the contract? Do you think he breaks Connor McDavid? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Link is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and read the article, because there is a little bit more that we did not talk about in this video, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.